friends, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. So today is another Scribble Sunday, and we're going to be doing the 3 marker challenge. Now, I'll be honest, I already filmed this video once last week for today, and well, let's just say it didn't work out so well. The shot and the lighting and stuff just wasn't good, and you couldn't really see what I was doing on the table. And I don't know, it just wasn't good enough for me to post, so we're just going to redo it. The drawing that I did wasn't bad. I'll show you that in just a second. But I already have all my markers in this cute little mixing bowl, and we're just going to mix it all up and pick a color. 3 colors, actually. So, I'm going to look down. Okay, blue. We got True Blue. And that is the color, first color that we got. Alright, next color, can you see? Is Mulberry. So there's Mulberry. And then the next color that we're going to get is green. We got Grass Green. Okay, that's interesting. I do not know what the heck I'm going to do with these colors. Maybe they'll be cute, like blended together or something. I don't know. Yeah, I guess we'll just jump right into it.
Okay, so the first thing that I like to do is just swatch out my colors. So I like to do it in layers. So I did like the first one is like 1 layer, and then 2 layer, and then on top of each other twice, and then 3 times, just to see how dark I can get the marker. Because a lot of time with the alcohol base, it'll like darken up a lot, and it's really good for like shading and stuff. So that's what I did, and then I just played with the brush point pen to see like the strokes and the dots and stuff I could get with it. The brush tips are like the absolute best, and it's these Prisma markers are a lot cheaper than the Copic markers. So if you're looking for a good alcohol-based marker, I highly recommend these. They're really fantastic. I'll link them down below. I got them off Amazon, and they're way cheaper than Copic, and I feel like they're a good alternative because they have the brush tip. It's really hard to find alternative alcohol-based markers with brush tips that aren't like $1 million. So if you're looking for some, here is a good option for you. I made sure to write down the names and numbers of these just in case you're interested in buying them. They have smaller packs too on Amazon. So the next thing that I do is just kind of like test the colors and see how they blend well together. So just to see, like, I was hoping that this pink and blue would make like a purpley color, and when I went over it again with the pink, it kind of did, like kind of made a purple dark bluish color, which made me a little happy. The green and the pink honestly just made like an ugly browny black color. Not a fan of that at all. And then the blue and the green, they actually blended together very nicely. The more I went over it, the more it just faded and was really, really pretty, and I loved that. And the blue and green fading really gave me the idea for my sketch. One of the things that I thought of when looking at these colors was maybe like a mermaid or like under the sea or something. So I started sketching out and playing with the idea of like a mermaid, and maybe she's like dancing, and I always give them pets. So I was thinking that maybe I started out with this pose with like her hand up and stuff. Kind of looks like she's dancing, but I was more so going with a pose where she's like playing with like a pet. And normally when I do characters out of water, I do poodles. I love drawing poodles. So whenever she was underwater, I was trying to think like how I could do it, what kind of pet I would give her. And I was just brainstorming ideas. I like the idea of a turtle and a fish, but none of them like really stuck out. And then I came up with a different idea. Another thing that I really like to do while drawing is just do giant hair. I feel like it just adds to the character a lot. I also couldn't decide if I wanted her to like have just her boobs out, or if she should have like a shell top, or if she should have like a crop top. I really played around with that idea too. I liked all 3 ideas, but I wanted to focus on the tail and make sure that I was making it really flowy and like, I wanted it to look like it had movement to it and not so stiff. So I really just left her boobs out and focused on the tail for a little bit, and then I go back to the top in a little bit. And while I was doing all this, I was still brainstorming which pet I should give her. And yeah. And I honestly decided on giving her a stingray. I feel like stingrays get a bad rap. Obviously, they're stingrays. They hurt people. They can sting you. But I was like, you know what? I think I can make them cute and fluffy and sweet and cuddly. So that's what I did. And I think that they turned out really cute, especially in the final product. I feel like you can see how stinking cute they are. And then I decided that I didn't really like her pose. Like, after her face and everything was on there, I was like not really feeling this sketch. So I started sketching out a different pose. Now that I knew she was going to have a stingray and stuff, I was like, okay, well, let's just play around with the idea of her like playing with an actual stingray. So that was what I did with the next sketch. And I also played around with the idea of her having a crop top in this sketch. And I thought it was so funny. I thought that the crop top was really cute. And I would like to know what you guys think about a mermaid in a crop top. I'm just really into crop tops right now, like for myself. So I think that incorporating it into my art was really fun. And then obviously I kept playing around with the stingrays and seeing like which eyes made them look cuter and just their faces and their features and stuff, just to make sure I was getting like, you know, the character right and making it cute and fluffy and cuddly and all the things. And then I do some like small little thumbnails and do like very small sketches or like outlines of what I liked, because I liked the second sketch a lot. So I decided that that's what I was going to go with. And so I do like very basic outlines of what I'm planning on, and just to play around with the colors and see how they're going to be placed on the image and see if they're just like cohesive with each other and if they're going to look nice. There's just so many options of like what color her hair could be and like if that would flow right with her tail and all that. So I found this very helpful if you're having a hard time picking colors, especially in a situation where you have a limited options like with this, with the 3 marker challenge. I highly recommend that you do this. It really helps. And I kept going back and forth about the hair, because I feel like the hair could look nice all 3 colors, specifically blue and pink. I kind of felt like I was having like a Sleeping Beauty moment where I just kept imagining the hair pink and then blue and then pink and then blue, and I just really couldn't decide which one I liked the most. I really loved the idea of the tail being green, and I guess I could blame that on the Little Mermaid, because I just always imagine it green because of her, I guess. So I kind of like didn't think of the hair being green because I always thought of the tail being green and I didn't want them both to be green. And then I also had to consider like the stingray and stuff. So having 3 colors was hard, especially when none of them really blended that well together to make another color. I mean, we do have that like darky blue purple to play with, but it would be nice to get colors that blended so well together that you kind of end up with like 6 colors. And then I decided to go straight in, and if you can see on the left, I kind of tried to sketch it out with just my pen without really like going with my pencil and making sure everything was straight. I just kind of tried to wing it with my pen, and it just didn't work out, and it kept smudging on that different paper that I was trying to use. So I decided to go back to my sketchbook and just try again. I will show you that whole image that I sketched out with my pen in just a second. It comes into play a little bit later. But yeah, so I just start sketching out and starting with my pencil this time, and really like focusing on the details of her face and giving her eyelashes and making sure like all the little things are going to work out and function well. And now this is the part where I decided that I wasn't going to give her a crop top. I was just going to give her another friendly, cuddly stingray. And so I got it to the point where she's like holding the stingray at the right position where you cannot see her boobs at all. So I didn't even have to worry about a top. It just didn't really matter. You could just use your imagination for whatever was behind that. I always draw little squares around my stuff or like shapes and try to stay in it, and I literally never stay in it. You can tell that the tail is already trying to like push the boundaries of that. But that's okay. And I also just wanted to make the stingray seem even more cuddly, like she's hugging him and he's hugging her back with his tail, and I just really liked that idea. And I thought, why not have 2 friends? She can be petting one and hugging one, and maybe she's just at a stingray park or something. I don't know. I just really loved this idea of the stingrays. I was having so much fun with them. I think they turned out so cute. Then I ended up going over everything with my lined marker and just doing some line work, making things thicker and thinner where they needed to be, and just outlining everything really good so that I could go in with my markers. I found that going in with my markers over pencil really doesn't look good, and also it just looks better with a black outline versus like pencil, because you can see the pencil through the markers, and the black just helps you like stay in the lines, and it just looks smoother and better. And then I went back and tried to decide which color palette I was going to do, since it did change up a little bit as far as like her crop top and it being a stingray now and stuff. So I just went back and forth, and I was still doing the whole Sleeping Beauty thing, pink or blue, and I kind of landed on blue. I kind of was just like, I have to pick one, and I kind of liked the idea of the stingrays being pink, and when I thought of them being pink, I just like immediately went blue before thinking too hard about it. So I was like, okay, yeah, her hair can be blue and the stingrays can be pink, and that's kind of what I went for. And the brush tips on these are so amazing. I love them so much. If you are interested in getting markers, I highly recommend these. I know I already said that, but they're just really amazing. So I just really outline everything just to help me stay in the lines, and then I color it in and try to go over it a little bit more where I think shadows and stuff will be, just to give it a little bit more shading. And I always go back at the very end and do shading and a little bit more detail, but it helps to go ahead and do that too now, while it's like, you know, when you're first applying it, it's really wet, so it blends a little bit better if you're going over it right now. That's why I love alcohol-based ones. Alright, so here's the picture that I told you would come into play later. So I completely forgot about the skin whenever I was doing the thumbnails. And I was like, I only have 3 colors, and I didn't feel comfortable just leaving it the paper white. I didn't feel like it would look right. And since I did the hair blue and I planned on the stingrays being pink, I really did not want the stingrays to be pink. I didn't want the stingrays to be green, So I felt like my only option for skin was to do it green, and I absolutely hated this idea. But so I tested it out on that one, and it wasn't the worst thing ever, but I really still hated it. So I just started coloring in the stingrays and designing them to avoid coloring in the skin, because I really hated the idea of the skin being green. It just made me think of like the Hulk or the Shrek, and when you think of mystical, beautiful mermaids, you don't really think of the Hulk and Shrek. So I just focused on the stingrays for a little while, and I colored them in pink, and then I gave them some nice details. I took the blue and went over the pink, and it gave it that nice like dark blue purple texture. And I just like really focused on like designing their character and give them some polka dots and some cute little like horn designs. And I just think that they're so adorable. I love them so much. I honestly usually at the very end go in with all these details, but I just had so much anxiety about coloring her skin green that I just went in with the details. Okay, and then I started on the tail, and at first I thought that, okay, I'll just color one side of it pink and the other side can be white, and it'll just like look cool, and like maybe like I was thinking maybe like kind of transparent or something. It didn't really work out like that. If I had a lighter pink, I think I would have done light pink on the other side and tried to make it more transparent, kind of like a jellyfish type of situation is kind of what I was thinking of for the tail. The white didn't really give me the effect that I was feeling as much, but I did try and make it work. And coloring in this tail was so much fun because it was so bumpy, and I could kind of like not be so precise about it. If I went outside the lines, it was okay because it was supposed to be bumpy and like transparent anyways, that it didn't really make that big of a deal if I did go outside of the lines. And I just feel like it looked very crisp and beautiful like this. And I did decide to fill in that white with the blue and kind of like overlap it in the middle so that it gave it like a nice little like purple, dark bluish purple stripe in the middle of the tail, and that tied into the little details that I put on the top of it, and I think that that looked very nice. I love the way that this tail turned out. I'm so happy with it. I'm so glad that I did not leave it white and that I turned it in, I colored it in. I think that it looks really good. I think that the stingrays are one of my favorite things now. So I guess you can just expect stingrays to be in anything that I do underwater now, because I'm obsessed with drawing poodles for things that are above water. So I guess my underwater journey will be stingrays, because I think that they turned out so adorable, and I would love to play around with this concept with different colors. But I am glad that I got to push myself out of my comfort zone and like try to make something with just 3 colors. I mean, it was difficult, but it was fun. It was like a fun difficult. And then I finally just bit the bullet and went in with the green. I started with the face, and I tried to be really light-handed and not make her face like super dark green. It didn't really work out that well because the green's dark anyways, so it really wasn't like that successful, but I felt like this was really my only option with the hair already being blue, and I didn't even think about the skin or consider it or even remember that I needed to color the skin until after I colored the hair. So, I don't know, this just made me really anxious, but honestly, I'll tell you a secret that I actually love it now that it's done. I just had to bite the bullet and do it, and then use what I had to make it work, and I do think that it worked out, so you'll see that in just a little while. But I did hate it and was scared of this green skin at first, but hey, mermaids can have green skin, it's fine. And then I went in and colored her eyebrows blue and her lips and her eyes pink. And I really feel like just those 3 things, coloring them in on her face, really like set it. And then I gave her some like little freckles on her face and all over her body with the pink. And I feel like this helped the character so much. Like just coloring the green and not having everything else colored in, it looked kind of funky, you know, but after putting those little details in and like coloring in her face and her lips and stuff, I really do feel like it looks so cute. Then I went in with the tail, and I just did like this like feathered look through the middle, because I had the idea of like blending it with that blue and green, and since the hair was blue, I needed to do the green on the outside, and I was hoping that it wouldn't be too bad with the skin, since, you know, I mean, I was hoping that since the skin's green that it wouldn't be too bad, so I just went for it. Honestly, didn't think that hard about the tail before I did it. I just like had the idea and then did it. So, and then I just blended it with the blue and just feathered it back and forth and back and forth. I kept going over it and over it, trying to get a different color and a different texture and make sure everything's blending well, just so it would stand out from like the stingray tail and the hair. I wanted it to just be a different color and texture from those 2 things. Since the stingray tail does have blue on it, I didn't want it to get lost in that, and I feel like it really did get lost. Like right now, looking at what it looks like, what you're seeing right now, it is getting lost. Like the stingray tail is getting so lost in this mermaid tail, you can barely tell it, like they're not being pulled apart for any reason. So that really sucked, honestly, but I do find a solution. I really love how the blue and green faded though and blended like in the middle. I love that like sketchy feathered look. I really love how that turned out. And then I started with the tail and blue on the ends, and as soon as I did this, I got scared that the hair and the tail were going to get lost in each other where they touch right there. But then I was like, well, I can just keep going over the blue and make it darker than the hair and give it some shadow, and then some line art to just bring the tail to the front will probably fix it. And that's just kind of what I hoped for. I just kept going over it to make it darker. And then I decided that since the stingray tail was getting lost in the mermaid tail, that I would give some detail to the mermaid tail to kind of pull them apart. So I started doing scales with the pink over the green and blue, and it gave it this like darker pink. It gave it a different texture. It's almost like the dark bluish purple color that's over the stingrays, but it's just a little bit different over the green. It's like a really dark pink. But I think that it looks nice. I really am glad that I decided to add this detail to the tail, because it really helps pull like the tail apart from everything else. Like with the same colors, it was hard to get different shades and stuff because they were just so similar in tones, all three of these colors. So it was difficult, but just putting this detail on top of it really pulled it apart. And I really love how the blended blue and green looks with this detail over it. I think that it just looks so beautiful. It really looks like a mermaid. I mean, truly, if you just showed me a picture of this texture with that blendedness behind it, I would immediately think mermaid. So I think that it really flatters the piece, and I don't know. It was also really fun to just put details in like this. I always get really carried away coloring little details and giving things freckles and stripes and dots. I always get so carried away doing stuff like that with my artwork. And sometimes that bites me in the butt, but it's always fun. And then for the end of the tail, I just did some like little lines that you normally would see on like a fish or a mermaid or anything underwater, really, with like fins. It really is like a normal stripey thing, if that makes sense. After all the pink details on top of the tail, I really do think that it like pulled it apart and made it look really nice and separated, and it just gave the character more spunk, you know? And then I went in and just did some more shading around the body and around everything, and I colored in that belt finally and gave it some detail too. And I tried to give her some freaking blush on her cheeks and her nose with the pink, and it's something I normally do with my characters, but it just turned black and it looked bad, and I tried to blend it out with the green, and it honestly like just didn't work out. I just was like, okay, I'm getting too carried away. I'm just going to do some more line work, and then I'm going to be done with this. So I do regret putting the blush on her face, but it's not the worst thing ever, I guess. I don't know why it turned black. The other, like, freckles and stuff I put on her with the pink stayed pink, but the freaking blush just turned basically black, and it wasn't the best thing ever. But I guess it's also not the worst thing ever. I don't know. Let me know what you think. And then, like I said, I just went in with some line work and made some lines thicker to bring it to the front, and that was about it. I mean, I just made sure I did that, and then I put the date at the bottom of the day that I filmed this, and I also gave her a name. I decided to name her Tallulah. I just like searched on Pinterest mermaid names, and Tallulah came up, and I was like, oh, that's cute. So I ended up writing Tallulah right under the date. I like naming my characters. And if you think of any names for the stingrays, let me know, because I didn't name them, and I should have. They're very, very cute. So if we can think of a name for these stingrays, comment them down below. Hey, and if you're still watching this, comment this emoji. Alright, that's the finished product. I love these markers and how they blend, and I really love how my mermaid design turned out. I'm very proud of it. I think that it's really cute. Even though the blush didn't work out like I wanted it to, I still think that this turned out.
Alright guys, I hope you liked this video. If you're not already, make sure that you're following me on Instagram so you don't miss any of the polls or the fun stuff that I've been posting, so that you can interact with me this June. Then I'm posting a video every single day. And while I'm saying that, since I'm posting a video every single day in June, make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss any of them. Alright, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!